Welcome and thank you so much for choosing to watch today's video. It is part 2 of my decluttering series right here on my YouTube channel. We'll be going through our entire kitchen and it's going to be extremely motivating. If you're new here, my name is Shelby Marybeth. I am a mom to 2 and here on my channel I love sharing motivation to clean, organize, and decorate. I upload a new video every single Sunday. So before we get started, I hope you hit that thumbs up for me and leave a comment below letting me know you're watching. I'd asked you guys in my last video what room you wanted me to do next, and a lot of you said the kitchen. So this is a really big area to cover, but it's going to be incredibly satisfying and hopefully motivating for you. So let's get started. The first thing I do before decluttering any space is just a general cleanup. I'm just making sure to put everything back where it belongs and just tidying up the entire counter space so that I have plenty of room to take things out of our cabinets, go through them, declutter, and then clean them out. So let's talk about our kitchens. So I use our kitchen literally every single day. I'm a mom to 2 kids aged 2 and 4. My husband also works full-time, so I always have dinner ready every single night when he comes home. We always eat together, and then I am also making breakfast and lunch and 2 different snacks for my kids every single day. So our kitchen gets a ton of use. I love cooking and I especially love baking, so I have an entire baking cabinet that we're going to be going through. So with the amount of time I spend in our kitchen, I definitely need to go through things quite often. It's been 7 months since I last went through here, so when was the last time you went through your kitchen? So I do have a goal of trying to get as much off of our counters as I can. I definitely want to get this off of our counter, find a place that I can put it. And I would love to be able to put this in our pantry or maybe a cabinet somewhere. So I'm going to see what I can do, but this is kind of a big item and we use it a lot, so it might end up staying out here. I love knocking out the easiest space first, so I'm going to go through our coffee bar here. Okay, I never think there's going to be much that I'm going to get rid of in drawers, but I always go through them and I always surprise myself. So the way I like to declutter is to literally take everything out of a space. So I am putting my hands and eyes on every single item that we own. Even though I knew there wasn't much I wanted to take out of these cabinets and get rid of, I still wanted an opportunity to take everything out and just wipe down the inside of the cabinets. Sometimes just a good wipe down and straightening up in a drawer can work wonders. I generally keep manuals just for a little bit after getting new items, so I've had these for long enough I know how to use them. I am going to be getting rid of them. You can always find manuals online too, so they are not forever lost. So my newest hobby is sourdough bread making, and I absolutely have fallen in love with it. I've been having so much fun, but I really need a spot to just have everything together in one cabinet, one drawer. So I'm just going to start making a pile of all of my sourdough bread stuff right here. You're just going through that area. Here's everything I am tossing. These expired September 2023, so getting rid of those. And here are just a couple things I'm deciding to let go. This is my baking cabinet, and I usually do like all of my baking prep work right down here, so it's been perfect to easily get things, easily get my measuring cups and measuring spoons. So I want to keep it right here, but I definitely need to just kind of go through everything, clean it out, and declutter it. So this cabinet usually doesn't get bad and disorganized and disheveled until around Christmas time or Thanksgiving, because that's when I start doing a lot of baking. But a few months ago I got into the sourdough bread making and I've been using this cabinet a lot more. So earlier I mentioned how I was going to take all of my sourdough bread making supplies and put them into one spot. So I do end up taking them out of this cabinet for now, just so that I have everything together. And then, spoiler alert, I end up kind of fitting it into this cabinet later on in this video. So anytime I'm cleaning out and decluttering our kitchen, I always check every single expiration date. Sometimes that's the easiest way to get rid of things, is just to get rid of what's expired. So I like keeping everything front facing if I can. I don't like putting anything behind anything else, otherwise it's really hard to get to that item, and I also forget about it. So I like just keeping everything lined up if I can, and then in other cabinets I've utilized like lazy Susans so I can spin the tray around to get to what's in the back. So here's a lot of my sourdough bread supplies, and I'm going to try my best to find the best spot for it in my cabinets. So I'm just working my way across our cabinets. The next one here is where I keep all of our plates and bowls and my recipe binder. I'm taking everything out, dusting everything off. I know there's nothing in here that I need to get rid of, but it was still very nice to dust and straighten up a little bit. So the last time I decluttered and organized in here and shared it in a video, someone had mentioned to me that the area above your stove is actually not the best spot to store your alcohol, just in case there is a stove fire, which is where a fire typically happens if it's in the kitchen. So I'm finally taking the time to move all of our alcohol into the cabinet that's over our refrigerator instead of the one that's right here. So I'm basically just switching these two cabinets around. So during Christmas time, we had a white elephant gift exchange, but the caveat was that you had to find something that you don't use in your house. So I had gotten this during the game, and it doesn't have like a bottom, and it's so heavy and hard to store, so I am going to be donating it. Next up is our spices, and I've been going a little overboard on spices because I've been trying out so many new recipes. So I always go through them and get rid of any of the expired ones, because if they've been inside this cabinet long enough for them to be expired, then I'm not using it. And my goal here is to get rid of anything we are not using. So I was playing with the idea of putting my spices on the left, and then I changed my mind. I definitely wanted to keep my plates and bowls on the left side here. I was just trying to find extra space for my sourdough bread making, but it did not work out there. Next up are all of our cups. I would love to get rid of this entire top row. They're all my husband's though, and he doesn't want to get rid of them. The rest of it is perfectly fine, and I'm getting rid of all these broken sippy cups. I will be going through our refrigerator later in this video and cleaning it out, as well as our pantry. I have this cabinet. It's just one single cabinet on the right side, and I cannot stress how nice it is having a set of Tupperware that stacks together. This cabinet has been organized since I made it this way over a year ago. So I've done all of our upper cabinets now, and I'm working my way down. We're going to go through all the drawers next. This is where I like to keep all of our utensils, and I've labeled each of these little bins. So I got these little organizers from the dollar store. They've been working great in this drawer, but I feel like just normal over time, as you're putting things away, things get disheveled and moved around. I'm not also the only one putting things away, and it just needed a good straighten up. I do end up getting rid of a few things that I will share with you guys in a little bit. We already got a replacement for the spacer. It had a crack and was leaking, so I'm getting rid of it now. I'm also getting rid of a few different things that I don't ever use, as well as this avocado one-use like opener, cutter, whatever you want to call it. I can just use a knife. I don't need that bulky thing inside our cabinet. Our silverware drawer is in pretty good shape, other than eventually it starts kind of distorting and I have to refix it. You can kind of see me pop it back into place there because the silverware is just so heavy. Whenever we close the drawer, it kind of bangs the container around. But other than that, it's been holding up nicely and I didn't have much that I needed to take out of there. I'm just continuing to go left to right, just doing our drawers right now. So my next drawer up here is where I like to keep all of our oven mitts and our gloves. I like using rubber gloves for any raw items, so it's really nice having it right there in that drawer. Here is our lovely just plastic bags, storage containers, drawer, and honestly it just needed some straightening. I've seen a lot of like organizers for these containers so that it makes the drawer look nicer, but I really don't see any need for that. The boxes they come in are perfectly fine, they work, and this drawer is closed, so it really doesn't make a difference to me. Next up, I have given this drawer the name of a junk drawer, but it's mostly just items that make so much more sense having them right here in our kitchen. But it's kind of a junk drawer in the sense of it's just the drawer I end up shoving everything into, which isn't ideal, but it's also super convenient just having some tape here. I also like keeping different screwdrivers and some anti-itch cream and nail clippers and just different things that I use on a regular basis. It could definitely be termed like the utility drawer. We keep our kids' tablet in here. We also keep like all my candle warmer supplies, and I like keeping my headphones in here. But anyway, this is just my miscellaneous drawer in our kitchen. It's central in our home and just makes life a little bit easier, even though I do need to clean it out on a very regular basis. So this drawer had collected a few items that don't exactly belong in here. They have their own spot somewhere else in our house. So I just put those back where they belong, and then everything on top of our toaster oven here is trash. Our last drawer in our kitchen is just where I like to keep all of our hand towels. So now I'm moving on to the bottom cabinets. So this drawer just really needed a good tidy up, straightening, and I decided to wash down all of the bottom of this cabinet, which made the biggest difference. I've been trying to look into some pot organizers and they always just seem so flimsy, but I will let you guys know when I find a good one. It is time to get rid of these pans. The coating was coming up on a lot of it and black spots were showing up in my food, so not good. These are also things I'm getting rid of. This pan is not useful. That top, I don't even have the pan for it anymore, so why am I keeping it? I remember this cabinet being completely empty when I decluttered it the first time in my videos, and now I just have some new appliances that needed a home, so I was able to give them a home here. Here are a few things from that cabinet that I'm getting rid of. This is an electric knife cutter and it does not work. My mom had gotten it secondhand from a thrift store, so I'm going to just toss it and save whoever might want it next. These are all knife covers that we do not use or need, so I will also be getting rid of these. And this was basically just a piece of trash. Next up is the cabinet I keep all of our pans in. I have a pan organizer in here that I absolutely adore. It really helps organize these pans. My pans are very well loved. I do so much baking And just because they are a little stained does not mean they don't work just as well as a new set. I personally think pans that are well loved and used work so much better than any of the new ones anyway. This pan I've had for 10 plus years. It was like a housewarming gift in my apartment, but it is rusted over. I definitely need to get rid of that one. This cabinet is another one that I keep all of our appliances in, and I would love to be able to keep all our appliances in one spot all together, but that is just not feasible in our kitchen. Our pantry is way too small. So these cabinets work perfectly, and this is just, I feel like, a reality kitchen. Like, this is what works. This was to a blender that we no longer have because it broke, and this is just a piece of recycling. So getting rid of both of those. This cabinet is, I guess, my like hosting supplies. So I keep a lot of our trays in here and basically plastic utensils and cups, and it just needed a lot of straightening. I did end up recycling a lot of these loose odds and ends that I know I won't be using. This monster is our Ninja Foodie, and even though it takes up an entire cabinet, it's totally worth it because it's like 10 different appliances all in one. So we love it. We use it basically every single day. Okay, now I am underneath our sink, and this area just always gets so cluttered so quickly. So I'm of course getting rid of a lot of things that need to be tossed. I'm actually utilizing the little like tray that goes in our dishwasher because I was just keeping it just in case, but I ended up using it as like a little organizer down here, and it worked out pretty well. There were a lot of old brushes down here that I was no longer using, so I just finally took the time to toss them out. But in the end, all this cabinet needed was a good wipe down and reorganizing, or basically just straightening up of this space. And this is everything from under the cabinet that I am not keeping. Now we are going through our pantry. I actually go through our pantry quite often. I do a weekly meal plan, and when I make our meal plan, I always try and find what's expiring first in our pantry. I also only order what is on the meal plan for the week, so I don't have extras of things in our small pantry, and nothing is just sitting there waiting for the expiration date. So I think I grew up on cereal. That was like my go-to breakfast every single morning as a kid. Now, not so much. I'm more of a like eggs and sausage kind of person in the morning, but these were like buy one get one at our local grocery store, and I do get them for our kids every once in a while. I'm basically just going through one shelf at a time, and I'm making sure nothing is like stacked behind another item. That's how things get lost in our pantry, and I forget they're there, and I end up buying another pack of whatever it is, and then I'm wasting money, and typically things start expiring before I'm using them. So I just like to keep things as front facing as possible. I never end up buying any candy, yet our pantry always seems to get so like stocked with it. We end up going to like a birthday party, and my kids get these goodie bags, and I usually just let them kind of keep it here in the pantry for a little while. I'm definitely not an all or nothing kind of person. I think everything in moderation is best for us, but I do try to focus on knowing what is in our food and what is best for us, and just knowing how to make healthier choices. Milanos are my guilty pleasure. My mom had gotten these for me as a little thank you, and now I need to find a hiding spot here in our pantry. I like putting some of our not so great for you foods inside baskets sometimes because one, it like hides it so it's not the first thing you see in the pantry. It also is a great just container, like it contains it, because a lot of those are loose ends. This is basically our stock shelf, so a lot of these need to go in the refrigerator, but the original is not quite empty yet, but it's almost. So it's like my extra bottle that is ready to go as soon as the one in the fridge is done. At the bottom of our pantry here, I have this entire stack of egg containers for a friend. She has chickens and she gives the eggs away, so she was asking for some containers and I will be delivering these to her house. But basically the only thing I'd like to keep down here are our lunch bags. So I finally got to the point that I was ready to try and find a spot for all of my sourdough bread making supplies, and initially I found a pretty good spot here in our pantry because I was able to make some room, but this is all just a little bit too far away from my original just prepping spot. So I ended up moving things around in my baking cabinet and putting these back in the drawer where they were before. So earlier I mentioned I really wanted to get our mixer off of our counter, so I moved a few appliances over into this cabinet. I hope this isn't too hard to follow along, but this is where I ended up putting our mixer. It's not ideal. I was thinking I could put it in the pantry, but our shelves are too short. But in the end, it is off of this space here. So these were stuffed in our pantry. I need to return them. We've had issues with our whiz lights blinking, so those need to go. These, I think every single time I declutter, I mean to get rid of them. We've never used them and I always end up thinking, well, they'll probably be good. But this time I actually did finally bring them to our donation center. So I did find a spot in our pantry that I could put our toaster oven, but it's so big and clunky that it's kind of awkward to move back and forth. So honestly, I think I'm going to be keeping it just like on the counter. We do use it a lot because it's so much nicer heating up that small oven if we can, instead of our like giant normal size like turkey oven. I wanted to get as many things off of our counter as possible, so our Alexa dot was one of them. I tried using a few different sticky like Velcro things that I had and command strips to stick it to the top of our cabinet, and it's so ideal there. I love it, but it kept falling down. I need to find something that is stickier. So here's when I decided to be realistic and bring our toaster oven back into its spot because I definitely was not going to be moving it. I had an air purifier that was right here, so I moved it so that it wouldn't take up as much counter space, and now its home is over here. I felt like I was starting to get pretty restricted on the amount of counter space I had to do any sort of cooking or prep work, so I'm just putting away anything I can. The biggest refresh for our kitchen was definitely taking the time to put away anything we had on our counters that didn't need to be there and just wiping it down our cabinets. That made a huge difference with how our kitchen felt. It just felt so much cleaner. Our bottom cabinets always get the dirtiest, but I'm just using a microfiber towel and Miss Meyer's multi-purpose spray. I find this works so well for our cabinets and leaves them completely streak free. So this was actually a new day. I did not get to our refrigerator on the same day. That would have been way too much work. But I was about to put in a grocery order and pick it up from Walmart. But before I made that trip, I decided to clean out our refrigerator. It's always so much easier to clean out the refrigerator when you have the least amount of items as possible. So I'm working basically as quickly as possible because I don't want things sitting out on the counter, but I do like to do just the side door first. I like to wash off all the bins and then I hand dry them and put everything back For the inside of our refrigerator, I like using a spray bottle with just half water, half vinegar. I like keeping my cleaning products as simple as possible wherever I can, and the water and vinegar works so well on the inside of our refrigerator. So I used to keep our milk and our creamer here on the door, but I've actually read that it's not the ideal spot for it. It's better for it to be central in the refrigerator so that it's not exposed to the room temperature as much, so it doesn't spoil as easily. So that gave me so much more space for all of my condiments and everything on the doors here. I had read that if you put your herbs inside a glass of water that they last longer, and my cilantro definitely did. I feel like I could use a second cheese drawer. This just little drawer gets so stuffed. We always have so much cheese. But for now, I just took absolutely everything out so that I could wash out this bin because it had gotten pretty gunked up. So I had mentioned with my pantry that I do a weekly meal plan and I base it on what's going bad first. I also look through our refrigerator. So whatever's going bad in here first, I try to use in my meal plan before I plan anything new. If you've watched any of my past videos, you know my fruit drawer definitely doesn't ever look anything like this, but it's seen better days. I've been super neglectful with how I've been washing and prepping and storing any of our fruit. I've just been so busy with life in general, so definitely getting this drawer back up to par so I can get our fruit washed and ready to be eaten. It's always so refreshing to have a clean refrigerator, and I'm always surprised by how little time it actually takes. Our freezer I didn't film just because I was trying to do it as quickly as possible, but it really wasn't too bad. Around this time of year, I try not to keep as much stocked in here because we do have hurricanes and lose power pretty frequently. Here is the bag of everything I am tossing in our kitchen. Some of our recycling, different things I'm getting rid of, and everything all together that is being taken out of our kitchen today. Lots of donations, lots of trash, lots of recycling, and we are left with a beautiful kitchen. Make sure to comment down below on what room you want to see me declutter next. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up before you go and subscribe if you're new, and I will have a new video here for you next Sunday.